This house should have gone to your father. You're just a grandchild. My stepmother tried to move her daughter into my inherited house while I was at work. Originally posted to r/entitled parents. I, 27F, never imagined that inheriting my grandmother's house would turn into the most exhausting battle of my life. Looking back now, 8 months after everything exploded, I can see all the warning signs I missed. But when you're in the middle of it, trying to keep peace with family while establishing boundaries, it's harder to see the manipulation for what it is. Let me start from the beginning, because understanding the full context is important for grasping just how calculated and deliberate my stepmother Linda's actions were. Background. My parents divorced when I was 12. It wasn't acrimonious, they simply grew apart. My mom remarried and moved to Oregon when I was 15, and while we maintain a good relationship, we're not especially close. My dad stayed single for years, focusing on his work as an accountant and being a weekend dad. He was good at it too, reliable, present, supportive of my education and dreams of becoming a teacher. When I was 20 and in my junior year of college, Dad met Linda at a professional conference. She was 41 then, divorced with a 15-year-old daughter named Britney. The relationship moved fast. Within 6 months they were engaged, and they married the following summer. I was genuinely happy for my dad at first. He seemed lighter, more social, more engaged with life. Linda initially made an effort with me. She'd text asking about my classes, remember my birthday, and include me in family dinners when I was home from college. But there was always something performative about it, like she was checking boxes rather than genuinely connecting. Britney was harder to read. She was a teenager, sullen and attached to her phone, barely acknowledging my existence at family gatherings. My grandmother, my dad's mother, was my anchor through all of this. She lived about an hour from my college in this beautiful 1940s craftsman house that she and my grandfather had bought in the 1970s. Grandpa died when I was 8, but Grandma stayed in that house, maintaining it perfectly, tending her gardens, hosting holiday dinners in the dining room with its original built-in china cabinets. I spent countless weekends with her during college. While my friends were at parties, I was learning to can peaches from her backyard tree, helping her reorganize the attic, or just sitting on the porch swing listening to her stories about teaching high school English for 40 years. She's the reason I became a teacher myself. Her passion for education and shaping young minds was infectious. When I graduated and got my first job teaching 3rd grade, I chose a school district that kept me within visiting distance of Grandma. I'd grade papers at her kitchen table while she cooked, help her with grocery shopping, and bring her to my classroom as a guest reader. My students adored her. Linda's attitude toward these visits was always odd. She'd make comments like, "Must be nice to have so much free time," or, "Don't you think you should be dating instead of spending every weekend with your grandmother?" When Grandma started showing signs of illness 2 years ago, Linda's comments became more pointed. "That's such a big house for one old woman," and "Your dad worries about the maintenance costs." The inheritance. Grandma passed away 18 months ago after a brief battle with pneumonia that turned into something worse. Her last 2 weeks were spent in hospice, and I was there every day after school, holding her hand, reading her favorite poems, making sure she wasn't alone. Linda visited once, for 15 minutes, and spent it talking about how peaceful Grandma looked and how, at least her suffering would end soon. Dad came daily but struggled to see his mother so diminished. The will reading was 3 weeks after the funeral. Dad, Linda, and I sat in the lawyer's office, a cramped space that smelled of old coffee and leather books. The lawyer, Mr. Peterson, had been Grandma's attorney for 30 years and handled everything with appropriate gravity. The monetary assets were split evenly between Dad and me, not a fortune, but enough to provide security. Then Mr. Peterson read the part about the house. "To my beloved granddaughter, who filled these rooms with laughter and kept me company through my golden years, I leave my home and all its contents, with the exception of items specifically designated elsewhere. The property taxes have been prepaid for 5 years through a separate account, which will also transfer to her." I was stunned. I'd expected maybe some jewelry or books, not the entire house. Dad squeezed my hand and said, "She loved you so much, sweetheart. You deserve this." But I caught Linda's expression in the reflection of a framed diploma on the wall, pure, undisguised fury that morphed into a fake smile when she realized I was looking. "What a blessing," she said, her voice pitched too high. "Though really, shouldn't something that substantial stay with direct descendants? I mean, legally speaking." Mr. Peterson's expression remained neutral. "The will is completely legal and was updated just 6 months ago when Mrs. Morrison was entirely sound of mind. Her wishes were very clear." The drive home was tense. Linda kept making suggestions about what I could do with all that space: rent it out, sell it and split the proceeds with Dad as a gesture of fairness, or let Britney use it for college since she'd be starting her junior year soon. Dad finally told her to drop it, that Mom's wishes should be respected. They didn't speak for the rest of the drive. moving in and early requests. I moved into Grandma's house 3 months after her passing. Those first weeks were bittersweet. Every corner held memories. Her handwriting was still on the calendar, her coffee cup still sat by the sink. But it also felt like a warm embrace, being surrounded by everything she'd loved. I spent weekends making small updates, painting the guest bedroom a soft green, organizing the basement, digitizing the boxes of family photos. The house had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a full basement, and a detached garage workshop that Grandpa had built. For a single teacher, it was more than enough space, but I had plans for each room. Master bedroom for me, 1 spare room as a home office for grading and lesson planning, and the smaller 3rd bedroom as a craft room for creating teaching materials. The first request came 4 months after I'd moved in. Linda called on a Saturday morning while I was spreading mulch in the garden. "Hi, sweetie." Her fake cheerfulness was immediately recognizable. "Bob mentioned you inherited all of your grandfather's tools along with the house. Britney's boyfriend Tyler needs to borrow a circular saw for a project. We'll pop by this afternoon to pick it up." Notice the presumption, not asking if it was okay, just announcing their plans. I should have set a firm boundary then, but I was still trying to maintain family harmony. "What kind of project?" I asked. "Oh, he's building something for his fraternity house. So creative, that boy." They showed up 4 hours later than announced. Linda walked through my house like she was conducting an inspection, running her fingers along surfaces, peering into rooms, making mental notes. "You haven't changed much," she observed with clear disappointment. "I would have thought a young person would want to modernize." "I like it the way it is," I said firmly. Britney, now 22 and in her senior year at the State University, barely looked up from her phone. Tyler grabbed the saw without a thank you. Linda paused in the living room, staring at the built-in bookshelves. "You know, Britney could really use a quiet place to study. Her apartment is so noisy with all those roommates." "I'm sure the library is quiet," I responded. Linda's smile tightened. "Family usually helps family." The saw was returned 3 weeks later, after multiple reminders, with a bent blade and sawdust caked in the motor housing. Escalation phase. The requests accelerated. Every week brought a new, emergency need. The ladder for Tyler's frat house decorations. The pressure washer for Linda's sister's deck. A folding table for Britney's study group. Each time, Linda would arrive unannounced, walk through my house, and make increasingly bold comments about the waste of me living alone in such a big space. 2 months into this pattern, Linda's strategy shifted during a family dinner at their house. Between the main course and dessert, she announced, "Britney's having such a hard time with her senior year courses. She needs a quiet environment for studying. OP, your spare bedroom would be perfect for her to use during finals week." "I use that room as my office," I explained. "I need it for lesson planning and grading papers. Surely you could work from the kitchen table for 1 tiny week." Linda's voice dripped with false sweetness. "After all, we're family, and Britney's education is so important." "Mom, I'm fine," Britney actually interjected, looking uncomfortable. "You're not fine. You're barely maintaining AB average because of those horrible roommates." Dad cleared his throat. "Linda," she said, "no. It's her house." The silence that followed was deafening. Linda's face went through several shades of red before she excused herself to the kitchen. We could hear her banging dishes with unnecessary force. The next morning, my phone exploded with texts from Linda. Screenshots of Britney's grades, which were perfectly respectable B's and C's, photos of Britney's supposedly terrible apartment, which looked like a normal college dwelling, and long paragraphs about how devastated she was that I wouldn't help my sister succeed. I didn't respond, but I did text Britney directly, "If you actually need a quiet place to study, the public library has private study rooms you can reserve." She replied, "I'm fine. Mom's being extra." That should have been the end of it, but Linda was just getting started. The big lie. 3 weeks after the finals week incident, Linda called with what she claimed was a genuine emergency. Britney's apartment building had discovered black mold during routine maintenance. The entire building needed to be evacuated for remediation. Students were scrambling for temporary housing. "Could Britney please stay with me for just a few days while they sorted out alternative accommodations?" She sent photos of official-looking notices, though I noticed they were oddly cropped. Against my better judgment, and after Dad called separately to plead Britney's case, I agreed. Just for the weekend. Just Britney. Just until Monday when the housing office would reopen. Britney arrived Friday evening with enough luggage for a month-long vacation. 3 suitcases, 4 boxes, 2 laundry baskets full of clothes, and Tyler trailing behind her with his gaming setup. "Tyler's apartment has mold too?" I asked skeptically. Same building, Britney said brightly. But he's only staying nights. He has family nearby he can hang with during the day. That was lie number one. Tyler never left. He set up his gaming station in my living room and treated my house like his personal arcade. I'd leave for school at 7 a.m. with him asleep on my couch and return at 4 p.m. to find him in the exact same spot, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and chip bags. By Wednesday, I was done. You need to find somewhere else by Friday, I told him. This was supposed to be just a weekend. The mold remediation got delayed, Britney whined. It's a health hazard. You can't send us back to toxic air. Something felt off, so I did what any reasonable person would do. I called the property management company for Britney's building. The confused receptionist informed me they had no mold issues and certainly no building evacuation. I asked her to email me confirmation of this, which she did. I confronted Britney that evening. She didn't even have the grace to look ashamed. Mom said it would be easier if we had a good reason, she shrugged. I need to save money for spring break, and Mom promised if I could live here for the semester, she'd pay for my trip to Cabo. Get out, I said. Both of you. No. You can't just kick us out. We have rights. You've been here 5 days based on a lie. You have no rights. Leave now or I call the police. They left, but deliberately slowly, and forgot several boxes of belongings. Update 1. The break-in. I thought setting a clear boundary would end things. I was catastrophically wrong. Linda had been playing a long game, and she wasn't about to give up because of one setback. The following Monday, I had parent-teacher conferences that ran until 9 p.m. I was exhausted driving home, looking forward to nothing more than a hot shower and my bed. But when I pulled into my driveway, I noticed the porch light was on. I never left it on during the day. My front door was unlocked. I knew I'd locked it that morning. I'm obsessive about checking. My heart racing, I pushed it open and heard music coming from upstairs. Not a burglar then. Burglars don't typically play Taylor Swift while robbing houses. I found Britney and Tyler in what had been my office. My beautiful antique desk, the one where Grandma had written 40 years of lesson plans, was disassembled and leaning against the hallway wall. My filing cabinets were shoved into the corner, drawers open, papers scattered across the floor. My computer was unplugged and sitting precariously on a stack of my teaching books. In place of my carefully organized office was Britney's bedroom. Her bed, her dresser, her vanity with its ring light for TikTok videos. She was literally painting her nails on her bed while Tyler played games on his phone, both acting like this was completely normal. What the hell did you do? My voice was shaking with rage. Britney didn't even look up. Moved in properly. Mom said it was stupid to keep camping in the craft room when there's a perfectly good bedroom available. How did you get in? Mom made copies of your keys. For emergencies. She said this like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. You broke into my house. You're trespassing. Get out now. Britney laughed. Actually laughed. You're being dramatic. We're family. Family doesn't trespass. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Even then, Britney didn't take it seriously until she heard me tell the dispatcher that intruders had broken into my house and refused to leave. You're seriously calling the cops on us? Tyler finally spoke, looking nervous. I'm calling the cops on intruders who broke into my house, I corrected. The police arrived in 15 minutes. 2 officers, one older and clearly tired of nonsense, one younger and trying to figure out the situation. Britney immediately tried to play the victim. We're family. I've been staying here. I have tenant rights. The older officer looked unmoved. How long have you been residing here? 2 weeks. Do you receive mail here? Do you have a lease? Have you been paying rent? We're family. That's not a legal tenancy agreement. You need to leave immediately or we'll arrest you for trespassing. The tantrum Britney threw was spectacular. She called me heartless, selfish, evil. She claimed I was jealous of her youth and beauty. I'm 27, not exactly elderly. She threatened to sue me, ruin my teaching career, turn the family against me. Tyler, perhaps realizing he could actually face legal consequences, focused on packing their things quickly. It took 2 hours to get everything out, with the officers patiently supervising. I also had to call an emergency locksmith to rekey all my locks, $400 I hadn't planned to spend. Update 2. The Family War. My phone started ringing before Britney and Tyler even drove away. Linda, Dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone had an opinion. I let everything go to voicemail while I focused on putting my office back together and trying to salvage my scattered lesson plans. At 11 p.m., Linda added me to a family Facebook group chat I didn't know existed. The messages were already flying. Linda, I cannot believe what happened tonight. OP called the police on her own sister. Had her arrested. Aunt Martha, what? Arrested for what? Linda, for trying to stay in that enormous house during a mold emergency. A house that should have gone to her actual father, not a grandchild. Uncle Pete, wait, Britney was arrested? Linda, the police threw her into the street. She's homeless now. I decided to set the record straight. Me, she wasn't arrested. She was trespassed after breaking into my house with a copied key and moving her furniture in while I was at work. There is no mold in her apartment. I verified with her property management company. Linda, how dare you call my daughter a liar? Me, I'm not calling her anything. I'm stating facts. Here's the email from her property manager confirming no mold exists. I attached the screenshot. The group went quiet for a moment. Cousin Sarah, wait, they broke into your house? Me, while I was at parent-teacher conferences. They dismantled my office furniture and set up Britney's bedroom. Dad finally entered. Linda, is this true? You made copies of OP's keys without permission? Linda, for emergencies. Dad, moving Britney in is not an emergency. Aunt Martha, this is insane. You can't just move into someone's house. Uncle Rick, but families should help each other. That house is too big for one person. Cousin Sarah, that's not how property ownership works, Rick. Linda, thank you, Rick. Finally someone with sense. Cousin Sarah, Linda, didn't you tell us at Christmas that you were planning to move Britney into that house for her senior year? Linda left the group chat. More family members chimed in over the following days. The responses were split. Some were appalled at Linda's behavior, others thought I should have been more compassionate, because family helps family. Several relatives I barely knew felt entitled to opinions about what I should do with my house. Update 3. The lawn performance. 3 days after the break-in incident, I woke at 6 a.m. to pounding on my door. Through the peephole, I could see Linda, Britney, and 2 men I didn't recognize. A U-Haul truck was parked in my driveway. I called through the door without opening it. You need to leave immediately or I'm calling the police again. Open this door right now. Linda screamed. We're just getting Britney's furniture. Britney took all her belongings 3 days ago. Her bed is still in there. You stole it. That's my grandmother's guest bed. Britney's bed left with her. One of the moving men spoke up. Ma'am, you told us this was your daughter's house. It is. She's just being difficult. The man looked at his partner. We're not getting involved in this. They headed back to their truck despite Linda's protests. As the U-Haul pulled away, Linda completely lost control on my front lawn. She screamed that I was a spoiled brat, an ungrateful child, a thief who stole Britney's inheritance. She yelled that Grandma would be ashamed of me, that I was ruining Britney's education and future. This house should have gone to your father, she shrieked. He's the son. You're just a grandchild. You manipulated that old woman into giving you everything. My neighbors started emerging. Mrs. Chen from next door had her phone out, recording everything. Mr. Williams across the street called out, asking if I needed help. Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down threatened to call the police herself. The audience seemed to snap Linda back to reality. She grabbed Britney's arm and dragged her to their car, but not before Britney shouted, You'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone knows what a selfish bitch you are. Update 4. The social media campaign. Britney's threat materialized as a coordinated social media attack. She posted across every platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Her narrative: she was a struggling college student whose evil stepsister inherited a mansion and refused to help family in crisis. She posted photos of the house from real estate listings, making it look even larger than it was. She claimed I had thrown her into the street during a mold crisis and that I was hoarding wealth while she suffered. The initial response was brutal. Strangers sent me messages calling me heartless, selfish, greedy. Someone found my school's Facebook page and commented that they shouldn't employ someone who hates family. My Instagram went private after the 100th nasty DM. But then Mrs. Chen became my unexpected hero. She posted the full video of Linda's lawn tantrum in the comments of Britney's Facebook post with the caption, Here's what actually happened. This evil stepsister was being harassed for not letting entitled people steal her inherited home. The video went semi-viral. The narrative flipped completely. Reddit picked it up. Someone found Britney's spring break Cabo photos from the previous year, contrasting them with her struggling student claims. A user discovered Linda's public posts from months earlier about planning to move Britney into the family house. Britney tried damage control, but the internet had turned against her. She eventually deleted all the posts and made her accounts private, but screenshots lived on in various corners of the internet. Update 5. The Final Stand. 2 weeks after the social media debacle, my dad finally took decisive action. He'd been staying with his brother during this time, needing space to think. He called me first. "I'm going to give Linda an ultimatum," he said. "Either she and Britney apologize genuinely and agree to never contact you again, or I'm filing for divorce." "Dad, I don't want to be responsible for—" "You're not responsible for anything. I've been doing a lot of thinking. This isn't just about the house. It's about Linda showing me who she really is, someone who would manipulate, lie, and steal from my daughter. Someone who spent 2 years planning to take your inheritance." He had the conversation with Linda that evening. I don't know the exact details, but she called me the next day. "I'm sorry if you felt disrespected," she said in a tone that suggested she was being forced at gunpoint. "That's not an apology, Linda. What do you want from me?" "I want you to acknowledge that you tried to steal my house. That you made copies of my keys without permission. That you told Britney to lie about mold. That you tried to manipulate my family against me. I was just trying to help my daughter." "By stealing from your stepdaughter?" She hung up. Dad moved forward with divorce proceedings. During the process, more of Linda's schemes came to light. She'd been telling Britney since before Grandma got sick that the house would be theirs. She'd researched squatters' rights and tenant laws, trying to find a way to establish Britney's residency. She'd even consulted a lawyer about contesting the will, but was told she had no standing. Resolution and reflection. It's been 8 months now since Grandma passed and left me her house. 6 months since the break-in incident. 3 months since Dad's divorce was finalized. The house finally feels like mine again. I've made it truly my home now. The office is reorganized with new filing systems and Grandma's desk restored to its place of honor. The craft room is an explosion of teaching materials and creativity. The guest room is actually for guests now, friends who need a place to crash, not entitled relatives who view my home as their property. Britney had to get a part-time job to cover her expenses since Linda had banked on not paying rent once Britney moved into my house. She graduated but skipped the ceremony. Last I heard, she was working retail and living with Tyler, still posting bitter subtweets about fake family and karma. Linda moved in with her sister 2 towns over. She still occasionally sends flying monkeys my way, relatives who think I should be the bigger person and forgive family. I've become very good at blocking numbers. Dad and I have grown closer through this ordeal. He comes for dinner every Wednesday, and we cook Grandma's recipes together. He's told me more about the red flags he ignored with Linda, her comments about my inheritance starting the day they met Grandma, her pushing for power of attorney when Grandma first got sick, her fury when she learned Grandma had updated her will specifically to ensure I got the house. "I should have seen it," he said one evening. "The way she talked about the house like it was already hers. I'm sorry I brought that into your life." "You couldn't have known she'd go this far," I told him. The truth is, the house was never just about property to Linda. It was about control, about taking something that represented love between Grandma and me and turning it into a commodity she felt entitled to. She saw my inheritance as theft of her imagined future assets. But for me, the house is about continuing Grandma's legacy. I host Sunday dinners for friends who've become my chosen family. I maintain her garden, adding new plants each season. I use her good china for regular Tuesday nights, not just special occasions, because Grandma believed in celebrating ordinary moments. The neighbors have become protective of me after witnessing Linda's behavior. Mrs. Chen brings me vegetables from her garden and gossip from the neighborhood watch. Mr. Williams helped me install security cameras and a video doorbell. Mrs. Patterson includes me in her book club. My students don't know about any of this drama. To them, I'm just Miss Johnson who brings homemade cookies on Fridays and has the prettiest house for the class Halloween party. Several parents have become friends, forming a support network I didn't know I needed. The attempted theft of my home taught me valuable lessons. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Family isn't a free pass for exploitation. Setting boundaries isn't selfishness. It's self-preservation. Document everything when dealing with entitled people. Security cameras are worth every penny. True family respects your boundaries and celebrates your blessings. The house is peaceful now. I grade papers in the same spot where Grandma wrote lesson plans for 40 years. I can feel her presence in the creak of the floorboards, the way afternoon light filters through the vintage glass windows, the smell of her roses blooming outside the kitchen window. Sometimes I find notes she left, in cookbook margins, tucked behind picture frames, hidden in the garage workshop. The most recent one was in the attic, tucked inside a Christmas ornament box. My darling girl, if you're reading this, you're exactly where you belong. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for accepting love in the form of this old house. It was always meant to be yours. Linda was wrong about one thing in particular. The house isn't too big for one person. It's exactly the right size for someone building a life filled with love, genuine friendship, and the quiet continuation of a grandmother's legacy. Every room has a purpose, every corner holds a memory or makes new ones. The entitlement Linda and Britney displayed was more than just greed, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of what family means. They saw family as a transaction, a reason to take. But real family, like my grandmother taught me, is about giving without expectation, supporting without conditions, and loving without limits. I'm 27 years old, teaching 3rd grade, and living alone in a 3-bedroom house. To Linda and Britney, that's a waste. To me, it's the foundation of a life built on my grandmother's values: hard work, genuine relationships, and the courage to stand up to those who would take advantage of kindness. The house stands strong, just as it has since the 1940s. And I stand strong within it, no longer the people-pleasing young woman who thought keeping the peace was worth sacrificing my sanctuary. Grandma didn't just leave me a house, she left me the strength to protect it and the wisdom to know that some bridges are meant to be burned. Final update edit. Since this has gotten attention, yes, I still have all the security footage. Yes, Dad's divorce is final. No, I haven't heard from Linda or Britney in 2 months. And yes, I'm considering adopting a dog because this house deserves the patter of happy feet again. Grandma would approve.